What's the deal? What's the deal? What's the deal? I hope everybody good out there, man. If y'all don't know what we're about to get into, if y'all didn't check out the title, it's something like this right here is what we're going to be checking out today. We're going to be checking out that Mann Act, white slavery. For some reason, we're still having a conversation about were white people slaves because some people are still in disbelief. But I hope to make it simple and plain, and to come at it from a slightly different angle too. Y'all know how I like to add a couple of Jews in there. But for the most part, that's what we're about to get into though. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the business, We'll be dealing with that old Mann Act, right? Mann Act. So we're going to keep it simple and plain. The Mann Act, also known as the White Slave Traffic Act of 1910, is a federal law that criminalizes the transportation of any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery, or for any other immoral purpose. All right. So first of all, catch it. Mann Act, right? White Slave Traffic Act. Making it clear. Of 1910. That was not too long ago. That's 20th century action. You understand me? Well, the federal law had to make it criminal for any women, right, or girl to be transported for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery, right? You would think that's like common sense. Or any other immoral purpose. You would think that's all common sense. But understand now how they say any woman or girl, right? Which I guess that includes all women or whatever. But understand this is the White Slave Traffic Act, because most of the people that was being prostituted and most of the prostitutes willingly were white women. They said that I didn't. Don't get mad at me. All right. It said the committees believe that no girl will enter prostitution unless drugged or held captive, right? That's what the committees believed. So they're saying, hey, who would want to be a prostitute willingly, right? And they were prostitutes willingly and also forcefully, All right, but let's get deep into it. But that's for the people that want to know what the video all about. That was the main meat right there. The fact that it was white slave traffic going on. They had to come up with a White Slave Traffic Act in 1910 to stop the prostitution of white girls and women. You know what I'm saying? And being used for immoral purposes. And that's where you get to the point to where right now how these boys going down for being with these Beckies or whatever you want to call them, right? Because they put the Mann Act on. That's what's going on. They're hitting them with the Mann Act because it ended up translating into interracial relationships and all that, But that's for the meat, for the people that want to get into the details or whatever, really dig into it, But for the people that got things to do, just got to make a move real quick or whatever, that's the main idea. But I'm about to get into some detail. That way you get the Jack Johnsons and all them and all these boys getting pulled over, people getting hung from trees and all that type of stuff for being with these white girls around in 1910. As a matter of fact, let me go and give y'all a little more briefing for the ones that got to go, right? And to make a long story short, without going to do all this proving and all that, right? But yeah, the moral of the story, how I see it, right, is that around the 1910, around 1900, stuff like that, like late 1800s, it was a lot of havoc being placed upon people of color. All right. And so this is around the same time you had the world wars going on. This is around the same time you had all the black communities, successful black communities being ravaged and burned down to the ground. This is around the same time where you had a whole bunch of accusations of black men raping like I already said, raping white girls and stuff like that, and getting hung with white girls lying on them and everything else because they were jealous, right? This around the same time, you got the Pan African movement, the Go Back to Africa movement, and all that type of stuff. This around the same time, this all is going on. All this going on at the same time, same exact time. Yeah, so that's what happened. Think we had the flood back then and everything. I don't know. Don't quote me on that part. But like I said, let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's get to the nitty gritty though. Let's right here. And right from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, right? Wikipedia is what? A free encyclopedia. So you can go follow all the references and all that stuff for the people that need more info. All right. It say the White Slave Traffic Act, also called the Mann Act, is the United States federal law passed June 25th, 1910, chapter 395. Right. We already read all that basically. 36 Statute 825 codified as amended at 18 USC 2421, 2424. It is named after Congressman James Robert Mann of Illinois. So it's named after the Congressman James Robert Mann of Illinois. So for you researchers, this is how you research, right? Out of Wikipedia. Now you want to get more information, you follow up on James Robert Mann of Illinois, and it's going to give you a whole lot more information. In its original form, of course, y'all click on other things too, the actual code, the statutes, of course. It say in its original form, the act made it a felony to engage in in interstate or foreign commerce transport of any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery, or for any other immoral purpose, right? Which we already read. What's debauchery? Debauchery is excessive indulgence in sensual pleasures. Excessive indulgence in sensual pleasures. All right. So just even the lust, it sounds like you catch a case on the cool. Like strip tease, stripping, anything like that. Sound like you're gonna be in some trouble. All right, it's its primary stated intent was to address prostitution, immortality, and human trafficking, particularly where trafficking was for the purpose of prostitution, right? They say particularly where trafficking was for the purpose of prostitution. It was one of several acts of protective legislation aimed at moral reform during the Progressive Era. Okay? It was one of several acts of protective legislation aimed at moral reform during the Progressive Era. So now when you go on to following, what is the Progressive Era? You know, like moral reform. Okay, several acts. What other acts was passed during this time, and why did so many acts have to be passed? Why did it have to be a moral reform? Because was everything immoral during that time? You see, those are the kind of questions you ask yourself to get into deeper research. In practice, its ambiguous language about immortality resulted in it being used to criminalize even consensual sexual behavior between adults. Understand how serious that can be. It's a immorality resulted in it being used to criminalize even consensual sexual behavior between adults. Understand that now. So that's the black against white, the black and white thing. And they were out here hanging these boys because of this law right here. It say it was amended by Congress in 1978 and again in 1986 to limit its application to transport for the purpose of prostitution or other illegal sexual acts. right? They say they amended it to clear it up a little bit. Be like, hey man, if they're transporting women and stuff like that for prostitution or other illegal sexual acts, then you can be hit under the Mann Act, right? But understanding that it stemmed from like anything go for the most part. And this came later in the game when they decided to amend it. So that means all this time it was like they could hit you just for having interracial marriage. I mean, interracial relationships rather. And so I guess that's why it was a taboo and it was shunned. It was looked down upon and stuff like that back then. And even like right now today, I'm not, I am whatever. All right, it's a promotion. In the 19th century, many of America's cities had designated legally protected areas of prostitution, and increased urbanization, as well as greater numbers of young women entering the workforce, led to greater flexibility in courtship without supervision. Okay? So it's in the 19th century, right, many of the America's cities had designated legally protected, what it did, and they said how many? Many of America's cities. They designated legally protected areas of prostitution, and increased urbanization, as well as great numbers of young women entering the workforce. What workforce? The prostitution. Led to greater flexibility in courtship. What, like, what do they call it? What they call it? What they call it? Escort service. Yeah, like an escort service, like a call girl, that type of thing. You know what I mean? When they say courtship, without supervision, without a pimp. I mean, you can hold on to the money yourself. You can run it all yourself. That's what it boiled down to. It's like, hey, they got rid of the middleman type thing. You don't need no pimp no more, baby. You can handle your own money. You know how to count. Yeah. You don't need nobody to count your money for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or you get all the little tips belong to you. All right, it was in this changing social sphere, social sphere. Anyway, y'all know what the fuck sphere or sphere. That's how you're supposed to say it, but that's too much. Goddamn it. Anyway, I'm country. I'm from the side. All right, it was in this changing social sphere that concern over white slavery began. All right, that's when the concern of white slavery began. Is when things started changing over. All right, this term referred to women being kidnapped for the purposes of prostitution and derives from Charles Sumner's 1847 description of the barbaric slave trade. All right, Charles Sumner's. That's another name. 1847. And what he said? It said the description of the barbaric slave trade. So it's letting you know it's all connected. How they was running these women from over there in Europe, running them over here to America, or North Africa, what you want to call it, and all that whole area basically. The 5 barbaric states, for the ones that don't know about the barbaric states, go check out the barbaric states with the barbaric pirates, like the Pirates of the Caribbean and all that, or what they call the Moors and Berbers and everybody else in those areas. But you had different cliques doing different things. Like basically on the West Europe, you had the Christians and the Catholics and all those type of people, like Great Britain and the Byzantine Empire and all those type of people. You know what I mean? And then like in the Central, well, they would say it like this here. So on the West Europe, you basically had like the Christians. You know what I'm saying? Like the British Empire. And then in the Central Europe, you basically had the Catholics, you know what I mean, with the Roman Empire and all those people, was still like part of the Byzantine. Well, that's like the Byzantine Empire, the Central Europe, you know what I mean? And all right, then the East, you had the Ottoman Empire or whatever. So you had the Ottoman Empire with and they was on Islam, Muslim Islam and all that type of stuff. All right. So it was like the Eastern Orthodox Catholic that was in Central, the Muslims and all that in the East, and then you had like the Christians and all them people, and then all those in between. You know what I mean? That live in another place, but they still follow this way of doing things or whatever the case. You know what I mean? So on and so forth. All right, but I ain't trying to go too far into that. I'm just trying to get y'all to understand where these people coming from when they were saying that they had concerns over this white slavery thing, you know, and why they mentioned the barbarian slave trade and all that, because they say this term referred to the women being kidnapped for the purposes of prostitution and derives from Charles Sumner's 1847 description of the barbarian slave trade. All right. So they ain't straight up saying that, right? But they just trying to give you something in the word, trying to let you know that where these girls coming from, that where this whole idea and this concept come from. All right, so let's keep going. They say numerous communities appointed vice commissioners to investigate the extent of local prostitution, whether prostitutes participated in it willingly or were forced into it, and the degree to which it was organized by any cartel. We say organized by any cartel type organizations. It say and the degree to which it was organized by any cartel type organizations. The second significant action at the local level was to close the brothels and the red light districts. All right, y'all know all about the red light districts, right? Y'all heard about that before. You know, people heard about the brothels before as well, huh? So now you got the brothels, you got the red light districts, you got all that there. So now you hear about this type of stuff, you already know what they references to. They're talking about the white girl that was being passed around, running through every Tom, Dick, and Hank they could. You know what I'm saying? That's how it was. And the thing about it is, y'all know our black sisters went with that life. You know what I mean? They ain't being passed around no motherfucking body. They were royals. And, we had it going on. That's how we look at it. So that's why, for y'all sisters out there, that's why they on them Beckys, because them Beckys was the prostitutes and they just do whatever. They was hired sex slaves. That's what they was, hired workers. Mm-hmm. And for you fellas out there, if y'all wonder why y'all women so strong when they don't buy down like the mother ethnic groups, because your women are, the black women are royalty, not necessarily the black, but the copper colored people are royal. You understand? Ain't no goddamn dog. That's how they feel. Treat me like no motherfucking dog. Understand that? All right, but let me keep going. It say from 1910 to 1913, city after city changed previously tolerant approaches and forced the closing of their brothels. Opposition to openly practice prostitution had been growing steadily throughout the decades of the 19th century. The federal government's response was the Mann Act. Okay, the purpose of the act was to make it a crime to transport or cause to be transported or aid to assist in obtaining transportation for or to persuade, induce, entice, or coerce a woman to travel. Right? It say many of the changes that occurred after 1900 were a result of tensions between social ideas and practical realities. Family form and functions changed in response to a complex set of circumstances that were the effects of economic, class, and ethnicity. All right? Right, what it say? Family form and functions changed in response to a complex set of circumstances that were the effects of economic class and ethnicity. That's how the game got switched down with economic class, ethnicity, and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Try to start, making white better and black nothing. And so that's how this whole stigma got thrown out. According to the historian Mark Thomas Cunningly, a group of books and pamphlets appeared announcing a startling claim. A pervasive and depraved conspiracy was at large in the land, brutally trapping and seducing American girls into lives of enforced prostitution, or white slavery. Come on, man. They call what? See how they gave it? Listen, see how they gave the truth at the end? It say American girls into lives of enforced prostitution, right? They left it broad, American girls. But then they let you know what kind of girls we're talking about. We're talking about white girls. White girls, huh? White slavery. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. So we got to watch how they play games a lot with how they reword stuff. You know, I had did this video once already, but something happened to it. They ain't let it go through. I ran straight through it too. My bad, y'all. I'm checking something out real quick. Checking something out right quick. All right, let's get back to it. Go and knock it out. All right, they say according to historic the group claimed brutally trapping, introducing American loves, good prostitution, white slavery. All right, they say these white slave narratives or white slave. Let me show y'all where I'm at, just in case y'all don't know. Y'all probably 5 minutes right there. They say these white slave narratives or white slave tracks began to circulate around 1909. Such narratives often portray innocent girls victimized by a huge, secret, and powerful conspiracy controlled by foreigners. Okay, as they were drugged or imprisoned and forced into prostitution. What they say? Controlled by foreigners. A huge, secret, and powerful conspiracy. They say this excerpt from the War on the White Slave Trade was written by the United States District Attorney in Chicago. What the hell? It said one thing should be made very clear to the girl who comes up to the city, and that is that ordinary ice cream parlor, and very likely to be a spider's web for her entanglement. Okay, they say this is perhaps especially true of those ice cream saloons and fruit stores kept by foreigners. All right, y'all understand what they're trying to say, man? Kept by the foreigners. It's a scores of cases are on record where young girls have taken their first step towards white slavery in places of this character. I ain't really like how anyway, but y'all get this damn point, right? The point is that the foreigners had the ice cream parlors and the little girls were getting snatched up out of the ice cream parlors, man. That's what it's saying. Straight like that. That's what's going on. So you see all these ice cream shops, yeah, the blueberry ice creams and all them. Oh yeah, man. They was getting snatched up out of there. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? That was alluring back then. The ice cream parlors was alluring to prostitution. So you wanted your girl, you go to the ice cream parlor. You wanted a job as a prostitute, you go to the ice cream parlor. You would get kidnapped at the ice cream parlor. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Then read what what they say the district attorney in Chicago said again, because you know that was one of the hot spots for prostitution. One of the hot spots was in Chicago. It's kind of one of the main cities. This is one of Chicago is one of the main cities that made them come up with this act right here. All right, say one thing should be made very clear to the girl who comes up to the city, and that is that. So he's saying this thing that should be made clear is that of the ordinary ice cream parlor, right? Is very likely to be a spider web for her entanglement. All right, so it's like you telling somebody else third party, you know what I mean, what the girls need to know. So what the girls need to know when they come up here, you know what I mean, make sure they know that they need to watch out for those ice cream parlors because they like spider webs for her entanglement. You know what I mean? Say this is perhaps especially true of those ice cream saloons and fruit stores kept by foreigners. So all right, say all of them might not get you. You know, you can make sure you pick the right one. If you like ice cream, make sure you go into the right one or go into those foreign ice cream, these little mom and pop ice cream stores, you know what I'm saying? Because you might get got. All right. And so it say scores of cases are on record where young girls have been taken, where young girls have taken this first step towards the white slavery towards white slavery and places of this character. According to Connolly, such it said first steps too, right? So that means like it's a process. They end up wanting to do it, like they get turned out for an ice cream parlor, basically. All right, it said according to Connolly, such concerns represented a hysterical version of genuine and long-standing issues arising from the concentration of young women from rural backgrounds in the expanding cities of the era, many of whom were drawn into prostitution for mundane economic reasons. See, they needed money. I needed the money type thing. They said a number of vice commission reports had drawn attention to the issue. Some contemporaries questioned the idea of abduction and foreign control of prostitution through cartels. They say, for example, noted radical and feminist Emma Goldman asked, what is really the cause of the trade in women? Right? That's another person to look up. Say, not merely white women, but yellow and black women as well. Like, what's the main cause overall why, women are traded? It's an exploitation, of course, the merciless Moloch of capitalism. Understand that now. What it will hold up. Like Moloch the bull, that's how that's spelled for the ones that ain't reading along with me. Yeah, it said Moloch. It said the merciless Moloch of capitalism. So capitalism is based off Moloch, off that religion. That's what capitalism is all about. It said that fattens on underpaid labor. It fattens on underpaid labor. That's what the Moloch of capitalism represents, is fattening their pockets on underpaid labor, thus driving thousands of women and girls into prostitution. So by you not having no money and stuff like that, then you forced to have to work where they was forced to have to work for prostitution, and that was the whole plan all along, and that was the capitalism of Moloch, that was the game. Hey, underpaid people, and then we can basically make them do what we want them to do. And for the women, it was prostitution because, actually, to be honest with you, like the women went into prostitution instead of just getting paid nothing. You see what I'm saying? But they were still like right up the alley of the big boys because they're running the prostitution rings too. If that makes sense, you see what I'm saying? So it's like either get paid crumbs to work a regular job, right? Or get out here on this track, or get in one of these brothels and make you some real money. So that's basically what was going down. All right, so let's see. I say Moloch capitalism, underpaid labor, that's driving thousands of women. Okay, it's with Mrs. Warren, right? That's another lady to look up. With Mrs. Warren, these girls feel free. Why waste your life working for a few shillings a week in a scullery? So the what they call them, the handler was Mrs. Warren. All right. They say why waste your life working for a few shillings a week in a scullery, 18 hours a day? Whether our reformers admit it or not, the economic and social inferiority of women is responsible for prostitution. All right, so they were just questioning. It was like, okay, whatever that was in between that, and then it was like whether our reformers admitted it or not, the economic and social inferiority of women is responsible for prostitution. Okay, and it says while prostitution was widespread, contemporary studies by local vice commissions indicate that it was overwhelmingly locally organized without any large business structure. You see how they're trying to deflect the shit a little bit? They say, it was like locally organized. They have nothing to do with it was no large business, no big business. Man, stop playing. All right, but anyway, see, because the thing about it is they got on record where the military was actually had contracts to get girls in. For real. And then they started catching a bunch of diseases and all that stuff, then that's when they stopped it. So what you mean? It wasn't big business. That's military contracts, government contracts. All right, but let's keep going. I said, while prostitution was widespread, contemporary studies, indicate local prostitution, okay. It said business structures wouldn't engaged by the prostitutes. Hold on, let me read that part again. Start from right here, y'all. It said, while prostitution was widespread, contemporary studies by local vice commissions indicate that it was overwhelmingly locally organized without any large business structure and willingly engaged in by the prostitutes, right? So they're saying it was willingly. It wasn't by force, it was willing. It says suffrage activists, especially Harriet Burton laid law, and Rose Livingston took up the concerns. They worked in New York City's Chinatown and in other cities to rescue young white and Chinese girls from forced prostitution. Now that's a reference. That's another source you can look up for you sorcerers, right? Harriet Burton laid law and Rose Livingston. What they do? They took up the concern, right? They took matters into their own hands. What they do? They walked in New York City's Chinatown, and in other cities to rescue young white and Chinese girls, right? Girls from forced prostitution, and help pass the Mann Act to make interstate sex trafficking a federal crime. Okay, so there you go. Now you got the white and the Chinese girl mix. Well, everybody, like I said, dealing with these white girls, these Chinese girls, everybody mixing together, having all kind of babies and mulattoes and all kind of trick babies. For real. That the girls they can nothing about more like it, or they couldn't even keep. Y'all already know the Chinese don't play. So you were doing your thing. You were doing your thing off in the massage parlors and all that. Best believe it. You best believe it. They was having all kind of babies. Trust that. And it was, like I said, they was already doing that back in the Indian slave trade and stuff like that. They was already doing that type of stuff. They had the thing going on in Cape Town, and there's a whole racket going on, bro. I'm trying to tell you, there's a whole racket going on. So this ain't nothing new. This ain't nothing new at all with the Indo-Eurasian mix. Yes, sir. Think about it. All of them pretty much got the same hair and all that. Make you wonder why, right? Even though, yeah, we know that all of them got a little bit of us, you know what I mean? They just like the mutation, anyway, I ain't gonna talk too down about it, but y'all already know where I'm going with it. But we can understand, if you want to know who a people is, all you gotta do is look at the hair. That's basically all you gotta do. Even with us here in America, like there ain't many of us that got no show enough nappy, super nappy hair, like, but over in so-called Africa, you got plenty, almost all of them here, straight up nappy, straight up wool, like, for real. I'm talking about it kills them, and I ain't even just playing. I ain't trying to be funny or nothing, but I would have more curly over here, still strong, but curly. It ain't matted. All right, but anyway, I ain't gonna go into a long story about that, but I think y'all get my drift. Yes. Y'all already see where we're going with it. Y'all, like I said, y'all already got the references where y'all can actually go look these people up and get way more information than I'm giving you. I'm just giving you the Wikipedia, right? The long story short, but I'm adding my own little remix to it. Not remix, but add my own little pieces to it to let y'all know that it relates to different things, especially when it comes to relating to right now today, how these boys keep what they call it, the Me Too movement or whatever. It's all based on this Mann Act right here. And it's all because all of them were the tramps and the scallywags. Hey, I can call it like I said, hey, fuck it. That's what it is. It's on the records. You know what I mean? They were the tramp and the whores, Hey, that's what it is. And now they just using it to their advantage to get paid from it. Yeah, it's a setup. That's what it is. All right. So let me say Livingston publicly discussed her past as a prostitute and made the claim that she was abducted and developed a drug problem as a sex slave in a Chinese man's home. In who house? A Chinese man's house. So you got that work in there, huh? Yeah. Chinese folks supplying them with drugs. That's right. Yeah, y'all already know all kind of heroin, all kind of stuff over there in them places. All right, but anyway. All right. So Chinese man's home narrowly escaped and experienced a Christian conversion, right? Not only was she kicked out, right? And she was put on drugs. She also was converted to be a Christian. How that work? All right. They say although her claim was unsupported by evidence, though, right? They say she was just capping. She can't prove what she's saying. They say her story exemplified the stereotypes used to pass the Mann Act, though, right? It's a fear of foreigners, especially Chinese men, abduction and drugging in order to be raped and enslaved, a narrow escape, and salvation through Christian conversion, right? Well, it say Chinese men. It say what it say now? They ain't really read right. What it say? It say Mann Act fear foreigners. It say especially Chinese men, abduction and drugging in order to be raped and enslaved, a narrow escape and salvation through Christian conversion. I get them all things that say they don't really know that she ain't really had no proof about type thing or whatever. The stereotypes about it. That's what's gonna happen or whatever that did it with white men that they don't need to feel. They say I help the pass. Okay, I got you. I see. They say that all that was an excuse. They helped get the Mann Act passed. You know what I'm saying? With all these stereotypes and the stereotypes that you got to be scared of Chinese folks. You know what I mean? Because if you ain't scared of Chinese men or whatever, Chinese men that rape and slave you, stuff like that. That's what they're trying to say in this article. All right, but they say temperance union and her house focused on children of prostitutes and poverty and community life while trying to pass protective legislation. They say the American Purity Alliance also supported the Mann Act. The what? The American Purity Alliance also supported the Mann Act. So, yeah, go check it out. Now, it's a legal application. Although the laws was created to stop forced sexual slavery of women, the most common use of the Mann Act was to prosecute men for having sex with underage females. All right, you see how they're trying to throw the catch-22 in there? Underage females. They say the phrase immoral purpose in the statute allowed an extremely broad application of the law following the United States Supreme Court ruling in Caminita versus United States 1917, which held that illicit fornication, even when consensual, constituted an immoral purpose. Now, ain't that some shit? Come on now. It say, in addition to its stated purpose of preventing human trafficking, the law was used to prosecute unlawful premarital, extramarital, marital. It's a premarital, extramarital, and interracial relationships, right? It's in addition to its stated purpose of preventing human trafficking, the law was used to prosecute unlawful premarital, right? Unlawful premarital. What the hell does that mean? How does a premarital relationship just becomes unlawful, right? Extramarital and interracial relationships. The penalties would be applied to men whether or not the women involved consented, right? What did it say? The penalties would be applied to men whether or not the women involved consented. So they're trying to get y'all to really understand. That's why I'm emphasizing on what actually happened. It wasn't because he was slave or whatever, because the black people were slaves, and that's why they couldn't deal with the white women, and because we just got freed and all that type of no. That's not what happened. All right. So it say if she had consented, right? If she had consented, the woman would be considered an accessory to the offense. Do y'all hear that? So everybody used to be mad at the Beckett, right? Unless they just capping them, they switch this up and all that just because this little Wikipedia article to eat the meat, spit out the bone type thing. But it sounds like there's something that could be looked up. That could be looked up and improved to be a law, to where if the woman consented to giving consent, that she would also be an accessory to the offense. That's what it's saying. It's clear as day. So what they had to do when they pull up, hey, you know this nigga? Huh? No, sir. This nigga just kidnapped me. The nigga just took me. The nigga just raped me. The nigga just Huh? Excuse my French. If y'all don't like it. I'm just saying though. I'm just reenacting what had to be going on back then. That's all I'm doing. I'm just reenacting. It's a reenactment. And so you going to jail. This gal says she don't know you, boy. Where you just coming from, boy? Stuff like that. You know what I mean? That they know you get snatched up, hung up, strung up. Ain't that what they call it? String them up. String them up, Bill. Come on, man. That's what's really going on, right? That is what was really going on. Emmett Till, all them type of people. And I guarantee that Emmett Till was around the same time. I guarantee it. I put money on it. Like I say, around the same time, the black boy balling out of control. Balling out of control. All right, so the penalties would be applied to men whether or not the women involved consented, and if she had consented, the women would be considered an accessory to the offense. Some attribute enactment of the law to the case of world champion heavyweight boxer Jack Johnson. Johnson was known to be intimate with the white women. Johnson was known to be intimate with white women, some of whom he met at the fighting venue after his fights. Right? They say in 1912 he was prosecuted and later convicted for transporting women across state lines for immoral purposes. As a result of his relationship with a white prostitute named Billy Screeber, the month prior to the prosecution, Johnson had been charged with violating the Mann Act due to traveling with his white girlfriend Lucille Cameron, who refused to cooperate with the prosecution and whom he married soon thereafter. You understand that? So they say he tried to hit her with the moral act law, even though he wasn't doing nothing immoral, but that's just how they worded it. You know what I mean? You see how they just slid that in there? You know, hey, they just accused. That's a false accusation. Just for simply going across the state line, they already told you about with a white girl. So they can just say what they want to say. Just charge you up. Make you have to go to court about it. But you see what the white girl did or whatever, she stood up, be like, "Nah, this my dude. I don't know what y'all talking about. You know, I ain't finna cooperate with y'all about no lie. I ain't gonna be able to do it." You see what I'm saying? And so he said he married her for that. All right, said in the 1948 prosecution of Frank LaSalle for abducting Florence Sally Horner is believed to have been an inspiration for Vladimir Nabokov in writing his novel Lolita. Humbert, the narrator, at one point explicitly refers to La Salle. They say the Mann Act has also been used by the U.S. federal government to prosecute polygamists such as Mormon fundamentalists, right? It says it's been used also to prosecute polygamists, such as the Mormon fundamentalists, because the U.S. has no federal law against polygamy, right? That's why. And they say all U.S. states have anti-polygamy laws, but only in recent years have state authorities used them to prosecute bigamy. Now, somebody asking when in that one. All right, so anyway, they say, okay, anyway, y'all get the damn point, right? Overall, so they go into the Mormon sects and all that shit. These are historical locations, several Mormon sects that practice polygamy, although the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints especially forbidden Saints has expressly forbidden polygamy since the start of the 20th century. They say sect leaders and individuals have been charged under the Mann Act when wives, right? It say sect leaders and individuals have been charged under the Mann Act when wives are transported across the Utah-Arizona line or the U.S.-Canadian line or the U.S.-Mexican borders, right? So boom. So they let you know all the people that been convicted of it, right? Now check this out with Jack Johnson, right? Jack Johnson is saying in October and November 1912, Johnson was arrested twice under the Mann Act. It was generally acknowledged that the arrests were racially motivated. Watch this. It's a posthumous presidential pardon was granted on May 24, 2018 by President who? Donald Trump. Ain't that some shit? Say what now? In 2018, what happened? That Jack Johnson was granted a pardon. A dead man, huh? Oh, man. What the hell is going on, man? Is he dead or is he alive? Gotta be dead, huh? It'd be 100 plus. Oh, yeah. You good dead scoop by the yawn, y'all. That kind of tripped me out, though. But y'all see other folks, though. Aside from him, all the rest of them white boys, pretty much. He like he in the mafia or something. You know, instead of them guys, old school pimps, big boys on the block, getting to the money on that tip. Not, oh, yeah, that's good. We selling and stealing women. No, I'm not saying that at all. No. So let me stop talking before I implicate things I'm not actually meaning. All right. But basically, all these white boys, though, is my point with this here. I think it might be a little mulatto or something like that. Right. I think he was a little mixed. He was a pretty important person, too. As far as, like, career and all that. I think he got himself into some trouble, that dude. Oh, Charlie Chaplin. Like he was something serious. Old Charlie Boy. See, he was an English comic actor, filmmaker, and composer who rose to fame in the era of silent film, right? Silent film. He became a worldwide icon through his screen persona. Okay? They say The Tramp and his, wow, I need to watch that shit. It said The Tramp, and it's considered one of the most important figures in history. That's shit. The Tramp, huh? It said, I'm pleading guilty to the charge of transporting a teenage girl to New York for immoral purposes. The actor was sentenced to 18 months in jail. He served just 10 months of his sentence. But the incident had a serious impact on his career for the next 6 years. All right, so yeah, conviction with this guy. Oh, see, this is a black man right here on this one. Rex Ingram. See him? He was an actor. See, they've been making running these plays, like I said, on these actors right now today. They running these same plays. You know what I mean? That's what they're doing. They got her. They say, oh, that's the Florence girl we're talking about. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, for the most part, y'all got the details of it now. You know, basically what I was already saying. What? See, look at this shit. They put Charles Manson in the shit. What the fuck? So they trying to say he got hit with the Mann Act. It's crazy. But he got extra charge, I guess, just because he murdered folk. But I guess man, I deal with that. That's crazy. Put Charlie Manson in the shit with them niggas. Or with them crackers, you might well say. Two brothers, the rest white boys, for the most part. For the white girls. For white slavery. It was still going on in the 1900s. All right, but y'all see all your little references and stuff y'all can go and look into. Like I said, y'all can follow all the links and all that. But yeah, for the most part, man, that's all I really want to show y'all. That right there.